advocate, entrepreneur, microbiologist, Grandpa, Paul Stiffler, Ph.D.
Words that come to mind when I think about Paul are energy, enthusiasm.
He has that ability to meet anyone and really build a genuine relationship.
He also has a mischievous streak in him that I enjoy tremendously.
Really, he rocks.
With Uncle Paul, there is never a dull moment. Uncle Paul's the life of any party.
The coolest thing about my grandpa is probably he still acts like a kid.
And he's just a very caring person who really loves Bowling Green State University.
Paul looks back and he looks at the foundation and he says, I got my undergraduate and my master's degree at Bowling Green. That's where the foundation was laid. And he hasn't forgotten that. It's to our great benefit that he hasn't forgotten that.
Paul's role on the University Libraries Advocates Board currently is president or chair of the group.
Paul provides leadership to a group who is very invested in seeing the library move forward.
He gets the library advocates members excited and drummed up, and they get them to come from various parts of the state and country to advocate for the library.
When he came from Chicago, and he drove, or he couldn't have done this, he brought a cake that had been made in the form of Jerome Library. Oh yes, and at the top of this cake was a Starbucks logo. The message was clear: we need a coffee shop in Jerome Library, and I think that message made it through.
The coffee shop was directly connected with the library deck.
As we were working on the renovations of the library deck, Clayton Stewart was interested in trying to make a difference.
I was a senator in USG, and I was working on renovating the library deck. So Paul was sort of the champion to help lead this initiative.
And again, he used his mischievous streak.
I just remember them all being super excited and them talking about how they're like a 70s protest.
Typically, you just go to a meeting and you sit down with the president and talk, not Paul. Paul picked up a chunk of concrete from the deck that had fallen off of Jerome Library and carried that over to demonstrate the state of disrepair of the library. That makes an impression.
It was just fun and exciting to see that energy and passion. Because then it's like, it's more than just library, it's more than just shh.
The library has a whole different feel to it than it did 5 years ago. And a lot of that can be attributed to Paul's leadership of the Library Advocates Board.
I have a great deal of respect for Paul as an entrepreneur. He and a colleague started the company Medtrol, and he was able to bring in his experience as a clinical microbiologist to the manufacture of these products that are now used in hospitals and restaurants and other institutions around the world. And Paul never talks about it. It was several years before I even knew what Paul did for a living, because he doesn't talk about himself.
He wants to see people obtain the same success, the same happiness with life, and that's what he did for me. Before my first internship, I was very nervous. It was my first job, huge opportunity for me, and sort of one of the first people I thought of for help as I looked to Paul. He's like, you have to come to Chicago and you have to come check it out. And he really gave me this grand tour of the city, and I got to see things and experience things that I'd never seen before, like the big buildings. We had conversations about life, success, the future, conversations I never really got to have with anyone else, even my dad sometimes. He sort of laid that foundation of what I want to become and then also where I want to go. And that, because of that foundation, that's where I was able to have the success at Bowling Green.
Family to Uncle Paul is everything, especially his grandkids.
He's that grandfather you always wanted.
A usual summer for me and my grandpa would be, we would go somewhere around the world. He would take me to things most people don't ever get to see in their life. The coolest thing me and my grandpa have ever done on a trip probably was we went on an elephant ride. The best thing about traveling with my grandpa is you would learn things that people don't really understand. I definitely feel pretty special from my grandpa.
I think his biggest lesson is we have to care about things and about people beyond ourselves.
It's beyond money, it's beyond the possessions. It's, for him, it's the people he's with.
Uncle Paul has been there throughout my life.
He wants to make sure that what he does honors other people, and he just loves life.
The biggest life lesson that I've ever learned from my grandpa is always live life to the fullest. Everything about you is fun. You never make life dull. You're amazing, Grandpa.